What is going on, everybody? So, let me turn this down real quick. So, I was going to take a look at the Galli today. Last minute live stream, didn't really let anybody know. Just decided I had maybe an hour or two to spare. Got a lot of stuff going on this week, but I wanted to do more than normal for the first time in a while. So anyway, we're here. So thank you to my one person watching me now. Hey, what's up? I sent all the boys I sent the crew the link, so they'll show up one at a time once they get coffee and once they see I'm even live or whatever. But remember, I will be going on with Chase sometime probably this weekend if I can. Maybe Sunday or Saturday afternoon. I'm not sure. I got a lot going on right now. But one thing we were looking at in Dr. Amon Hillman's book, which I think a lot of guys have this now, is Hermaphrodites, Gynomorphs, and Jesus. Not saying that this book is something you have to go and get because you're missing out on the secrets of the past. What I'm suggesting is getting this book, reading this perspective, will bring you into a lot of other topics you may or may not heard of. And in that, you do end up learning more about other things. So either way, whether you're a big fan of him or not, there's some interesting stuff in here, right? So we wanted to take a look at something that we read the other day. We were looking at a picture of John the Baptist, and it was a very feminine looking John the Baptist. Now, the biggest reason why I wanted to check this out, I don't care how smart you are, what degrees you have or anything, I don't care. I saw a feminine Jesus in a vision forever ago. And so because of that, I was like, And I think it was my brain saying to myself one of two things. I think it was my brain saying to itself, oh, well, if Jesus was doing all those drinks and stuff, that was what the immortality key was talking about. But all the women did things then. So Jesus was like a cross-dressing, dressing up like a woman for these ceremonies and stuff. I don't know why I would have said that. So many years ago, I was living in DC at the time. I can remember the day and everything that I had the experience. And so lo and behold, or there's the option that I'm seeing something I was gonna learn about later in the future, which that makes more sense with the way that we think, like entheogens work and stuff. But let's take a look at just the Wikipedia page just to start it all off, right? So in here, he talked about John the Baptist potentially being a Galli or Galli-like type of rebellious rabbi. I think within the left and right margins of stuff that existed during the time, it does fit the time period to say something like that. However, I'm having a hard time finding artwork that has any kind of resemblance to John the Baptist looking like a feminine, clean-shaven, demasculated type of self-castrated eunuch, priest, if you will, that had been around for a couple centuries, right? So let's talk about the Galli and what he was comparing John the Baptist to looking like. It's the Galli said from ancient, Agallus was a eunuch priest of the Phrygian goddess Sibyl. I believe that's how we're saying her name, right? Magna Mater in Rome, and her consort Attis, who worship was incorporated into the state religious practices of ancient Rome. So you'll always see those. Derek and Neil have both had videos on the Phrygian stuff with the Phrygian Santa Claus looking cap that has somehow survived and made its way into elf folklore attire and stuff like that. Real interesting stuff for sure. Especially when it's in all the artwork. Everyone's drawing that. It's like, maybe it's a little easier than drawing all that hair. They draw that cap on them, but I'm joking. So the origin, Sibyl's cult may have originated in Mesopotamia, arriving in Greece around 300 BC or so. That originally kept its sacred symbol a black meteorite in a temple called the Megalesian in Pessinus in modern Turkey. The earliest surviving references to the Galli come from the Greek anthology, 10th century compilation of earlier material where several epigrams mention or clearly allude to the castrated state. Sorry. Stephanus Byzantinus, 6th century CE, after Jesus, said the name came from King Gallus, while Ovid, 43 BC to 17 CE, ooh, that's during Jesus, said it derived from the Gallus River in Phrygia. Okay. Now remember, I've already done a little bit of research. I've talked to ChatGPT even to get it to try to corner it in questioning just for fun and whatever. Because I'm trying to argue that John the Baptist may have been participating in the same cultural things that these Galli might have been doing. And there's a reason for it. It's the whole feminine energy and everything that was existing back when the origins of the religion, there was a more feminine energy. Women had a bigger role in the thing, from what we can tell. And I've always talked about how artists will hide things in the artwork. And I'm not exactly sure, and I haven't had the furthest dive into whether artists were ever drawing people in a different gender as the underground joke, such as like the Mona Lisa. People say that the Mona Lisa is a self-portrait of Leonardo da Vinci in drag, right? This has always been in society for really long. And I'm not that guy who's like, oh, this has been around for 3,000 years and like, you know, trying to like be part of the like a modern day push for anything like this. I'm just covering this particular aspect of something that was brought up in regards to John the Baptist, because I've always theorized that John the Baptist was the guy who brought Jesus in. So more than likely, Jesus would have been doing things like John the Baptist. Why did I see a feminine Jesus in my vision years ago when I didn't think Jesus even lived or any of that? You know what I mean? The only thing I can say is I was seeing something I was going to see more of in the future, because that seems to be kind of the extent that the mind works when it comes to that stuff. It's not like remote viewing something from the past, but I can see something I'm going to learn early. Kind of like how Paul Stamets saw a flood. A couple of weeks later, there was a flood. He saw it with his eyes, you know, in the future. And that's why he saw it in the past. But taking mushrooms and thinking you can travel to Hawaii and see where a murderer is, that's fucking horseshit. Okay. So there is something there that I've experienced that I can't explain to y'all. So that's some extra dimensional thing when it comes to that experience. Stephanus Byzantinus, 6th century, said he came from King Ovid, 43, 17 CE, driving Gallus. The same word Gallus, singular, Galli, plural, was used by the Romans to refer to the Celts and to roosters. That was an old nickname of mine in the army. And the latter especially was a source of puns. Considering the Mesopotamian connection and the similarities between Sybil and Inanna. Now, we've all heard of Inanna, I'm sure, whether it be from Francesca Stavrakopoulos or whether it be from Derek or Neil's videos. I know they've had to cover her once. You know what I mean? A common etymology between the Galli and the much earlier Sumerian priests of Inanna, known as the Gala, is plausible, but this is not yet conclusive. How do you want to bet? How much you want to bet? And I'm not sitting here saying that Jesus was a cross-dressing dude back in the day. I'm just saying the concept may not be as crazy as you think, considering they were crucifying people over living in the woods and doing rituals. But what are the rituals? Dunking water on somebody? Get the fuck out of here. What the fuck were they doing to get crucified so bad? To be called a madman and for the Jews to want to kill you, you know, you had to be doing something they didn't like. And perhaps this is, you know, not the craziest idea in the world if you know what the Galli are, right? So let's learn a little bit more. Arrival in Rome. The cult of Magna Mater arrived in Rome sometime 3rd century BCE. Okay, so they're moving around the lands. You know, it's not like people didn't know who the fuck they were 300 years later. You know what I mean? Just 2,000 kilometers away. Sure, that they're going to know. Are they actually doing that? I do not know. I'd have to find some proof that there was other priests in the area dressing up like women, you know. I wouldn't think there's anything wrong with it. Just I would need the proof, for sure. There are no contemporary accounts of its arrival, but later change describe the important official response to meteor showers, crop failures, and famine in 205 BCE. Synod sibling books identified these events as prodigies, signs of divine anger against Rome, the warnings of Rome's imminent destruction, which should be expiated by Rome's official import of Magna in her cult. The goddess as an ally, Rome might see the end to famine and victory over Carthage. 204 BC, the Roman Senate officially adopted Sicily as the state goddess. Her cult image was brought to sanctuary at Asia Minor, eventually into the city with much ceremony. According to Livy, I'm not smart enough to know, but that's some scholar that was important back in the day, but I haven't ever heard his name to know how to say it. It was brought to Temple of Victory at Palatine Hill on the day before the Ides of April. And from then on, the anniversary was celebrated as Megalesia on April 4th through 10th with public games, animal sacrifices, and music performed by the Galli. Over 100 years later, according to Plutarch, when the Roman general Marius planned to fight the Germanic tribes, the priest of the Galli named Battaces, y'all see what I'm saying, Battaces, prophesied Roman victory, and consequently the Senate voted to build a victory temple to the goddess. Dionysius of Halicarnassus claimed that Roman citizens did not, now this isn't the god, this is an actual person, claimed that Roman citizens did not participate in the ritual, the cult of Magna. Literary sources call the Galli half-men, semiviri, or half-women, imithilus, leading scholars to conclude the Roman men looked down upon the Galli. They looked down upon them. But Roman disapproval of the foreign cult may be more the invention of modern scholars than a social reality in Rome, as archaeologists have found votive statues of Attis on the Palatine Hill. Remaining Roman citizens participated on some level of reverence of Magna and her consort. Yeah, how much you want to bet there was plenty of it, bruh. The Archigallus was a Roman citizen who was also employed by the Roman state and therefore walked a narrow line, preserving cult traditions while not violating Roman religious prohibitions. Now, this was apparently what we were seeing with Pharisees controlling what people were allowed to do, using the Romans as their hitmen to do the balancing for them. And I'm over exaggerating. Please don't anybody get offended or whatever, but they're not going to kill you, but they'll always, Anyway, Argos was a Roman citizen, also employed Roman state, therefore preserving cult traditions while not violating Roman religious prohibitions. Some argue that the Archigallus was never a eunuch. All citizens of Rome were forbidden from everatio, castration. This prohibition suggests the original Galli were either Asian or slaves. Claudius, however, lifted the ban on castration. We want to cut our nuts off legally. Domitian subsequently reaffirmed it. Whether or not Roman citizens could participate in the cult of Magna Mater, or whether its members were exclusive, if I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry, exclusively foreign-born and therefore subject to scholarly debate. In the provinces, the remains of Roman Gallus from the 4th century CE were found in 2002 in what is now Castrated, England, dressed in women's clothes, jewelry of jet, shale, and bronze, and 2 stones in their mouth. I wonder what that represents. Pete Wilson, the senior archaeologist at English Heritage, said, "The find demonstrates how cosmopolitan the north of England was." The archaeological site for Corbridge, a significant Romano-British settlement on Hadrian's Wall, has an altar to the goddess Sybil. The 4th century cemetery was excavated at Hungate, New York, where one of the burials has been identified as potentially that of the member of the Galli. All right, so if I go to England to see my stepmother's, homeland, this is what I'm gonna try to go see. This is the basic evidence that although the bones appear to be male, the person was buried with jet bracelets, material that is strongly associated with women. These aspects are similar to that of the Gallus burial from Cataract. Now, one of the claims that Amon was making in the book was that the leather belt that John the Baptist was wearing in the leopard skin apparently would have been in a more feminine fashion based off of apparently the Galli. I don't want to say maybe a Jewish ripoff of it, but that's the concept here. I don't know if that seems too crazy to anybody. I'm sure some of my guys here will be like, "Oh yeah, it's not crazy. And then some people might be like, whoa, that's really stretching it. But it's like, but is it? I guess we would hear more about them. We would hear more from antiquity about that being what was crucified and that being the problem. And I don't think that's what we really hear. So that's there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Definitely someone more smarter than me than I. Comment in the comments. But as far as the artwork goes, remember, I'm a sucker for statues that are good. This is good. This is great. I don't care that it has anything to do with that topic. This is badass. They got the proportions right in the face. They've managed to draw the perfect blend of masculine and feminine on the left, at least. Now on the right, arguably the same exact thing. Yeah. There was an androgyny to a lot of different things in history, whether it be like angels or it be kings and rulers, pharaohs. Sometimes they look built like female, like a female build for a guy, and y'all know what I'm talking about. And so I don't know, there's something to see there, I guess. Now this is a statue of the Galli priest, 2nd century. So this would theoretically be a male who is castrated and is now sort of presenting themselves as a feminized priest, but an androgynous look. Now, at the time, some were looking at this as an ascension of the self. I'm not sure what women can do in this scenario to also balance that out, but women are already the women. And I think that's what we're celebrating here. So they get to do their own things. And Amon's talked about different ceremonies, whether they be from the same region. I'm just saying he's talked about ceremonies where the women are shaving their heads or they're going out sleeping with sailors. And it seems like a lot of the history that he talks about is within the Roman history. Yes. Whether that was actually what was going on that wasn't written in that book, I mean, there's obviously not enough there for anybody to really nail that down, but it's definitely one of those chaos apples for somebody to toss in the conversation if they start having a conversation about Jesus with Christians and stuff. And it's like you're all into it and you're talking about the things that he's doing, the miracles, and then all of a sudden you flip a switch and you're like, what about the concept that, he was castrated? And you're like, what? Like, yeah, Matthew 19:12. Like, what's up with that statement? I've had a hard time understanding what he means at the end by those who are able to receive it, let him be separated. It's like, what the fuck did he just say? I gotta chop my balls off? Oh, I mean, it wouldn't make the castration concept in the garden that crazy. Anyway, let me see if anybody's in the studio. I'm stuck on the page. No one's there yet. I rushed to get it started. like, where's Marcel? He's been making coffee for 24 minutes. Let me text him. He might not even know. I'm on. Check Discord. He's been going ham on some video games, which I don't blame him, man. Video games are awesome. It's a great anti-stress tool if you need it. Even if it's just like a stupid N64 from back in the day. I mean, better you can watch another TV show you've seen 100 times or whatever. All right, guys. Sorry I haven't looked at the comments. Hey, what's going on, man? Gnostic informant. Yeah, eunuchs for the kingdom of the heaven. I'm sorry I wasn't paying attention. You probably already gone. Yeah, eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. I did an episode on this a long time ago, and I stole Wes Huff and Billy Carson, I think Derek's photo for this. And I was testing out algorithm stuff, and it was getting, I guess a good handful of views or whatever. But what's up, Ridley? Man, yeah, here. Yeah, there's probably not a lot of people here. I can't even tell. It's only 5, so it'll get watched later. But dude, definitely, thanks for coming by for sure. Lord Cameron, nice to see you. So yeah, the Galli. What do you say? So let's take a look at another. I've read a few articles on this. All right, so English heritage, LGBTQ plus history. I lived in DC for a while. I try to not piss people off directly with how I talk about it. The Galli, breaking Roman gender norms. All right. So I don't know if the people who are opposed to this kind of stuff, I don't know if they ever tried to claim, hey,
Yeah.
I don't know if people back when I guess the LGBTQ stuff really hit the news a little more. It was kind of during like that really uncomfortable time where we all used to wear masks. During that time, there was a lot of mention of LGBTQ plus. However, I'm supposed to say that. Definitely no disrespect at all. I do not think that people should have to live with what they deal with, if that makes sense, when you're uncomfortable with yourself. And that does suck. Now, I've worked security for Human Resources Command, or Human Resources Center, sorry, Command. I'm still in the Army. And they seemed very, very comfortable with me and how nice I was and smiling all the time, and I just seem to really get along well with that crowd, honestly. And no one's ever been negative to me from a crowd like this. Usually I'm kind of getting hit on a little bit by some of the dudes or something, but I've never gotten any disrespect from people like this. Now, people who are opposed to this stuff, I have seen the most evil people in the world oppose this kind of stuff. And I have never felt anything evil from a guy who wants to do that or a girl who wants to do that the other direction or just not have the boundary. I totally get it. I don't know why people care so much about what someone else wants to do.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't think that any of them deserve to be drugged through the mud too bad. I do think some people kind of use it for the social media. I don't love that because it's like, bro, if you're in the middle of transitioning and, if you look like, my brother with a wig on and you're going into women's bathrooms trying to be a smart ass about it and stuff, it's like, look, bro, like there's women out here that will trick you. You will not know that they used to be a man. You're not there yet. So stop trying to piss people off with it. That's the one thing I don't like. But we've all seen Jerry Springer, and that was a big topic in the 90s and in the 2000s. It was always, I'm dating a woman who isn't a woman. And there's some women that walk out, bro, the voice and everything is very, very fooling. You know what I'm saying? So that, and I know it takes a minute to get there.
I have a trans friend, and you would never tell she was ever a man. You'd never know unless she told you.
Really?
Yeah.
I've helped some women transitioning.
Shoulders, but her voice is from she looks like a model. Like she's extraordinarily beautiful. Really? Yeah.
Well, I worked with Sophie and Caitlyn Jenner, and Sophie, you would never really know unless you just were around her long enough to know.
Yeah.
Caitlyn, obviously, I mean, is famous before all this, so it's unfair there. But, I watched Dog Day Afternoon a long time ago with my friend Trevor, and he was a very soft-hearted, nice guy, too. And we watched Dog Day Afternoon, and I felt so bad for Al Pacino's boyfriend, trans girlfriend, in the movie, because apparently this was based on a true story. And it shows you the extremes people will go to when they're not comfortable with something, whether it's obesity, you're not comfortable with being obese, if you're not comfortable being the wrong gender in your brain. There's guys that I know that act like women, like Kanye West. Does that make sense?
Yeah. When I was a teenager, I would get very like PMSy, or I don't know the word to describe it, but it was definitely woman-like for sure. When I was
I've made jokes about like how I make my freaking coffee in the morning, but just not to be ridiculous. I'm going to cover one more of this, and then hopefully someone else will jump in and we'll have something going. But it's a weird day and weird time to go live. But like I said, I got this weird schedule going on this week. So, you know, a lot of things. We got school starting back. I got this new position. It's about to become a heck of a lot more days.
Yeah, full time.
By design, they asked me if I wanted more, and I was like, yeah, for sure. Making money.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but the cool thing is that I get to work on this kind of stuff there because I'm just doing security at a ranch. I'm just chilling,
And it's
all
easy
strapped
too.
up.
Like one of us can, like, if you got to go open a gate or something, one of us can just hold down the fort for a couple of seconds.
Well, I won't live stream, but I might do an episode or two. But I don't want to get in trouble if someone ever saw that and be like, "You're doing this at work?" Like, fuck no. But I can work on the stuff like editing the book more. I can, chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Chat on it.
Oh yeah. You don't want to get caught. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So let's read this one. This is EnglishHeritage.org.uk. The Galli priests were the god of Sybil. They may have been devoted specifically to consort Attis, who had castrated himself in a fit of divine frenzy. On initiation to the cult of the Galli, also castrated themselves and afterwards dressed exclusively in women's clothing. So we have heard this out of context on Lady Babylon a lot. He may have mentioned this name when telling these stories. He may have used
that whole
goddess.
That whole thing where everyone was making fun of, well, not everyone, but there's some stuff going around about people saying that the stream they did where Amin and Snappy and the other guy wore blonde wigs and dressed up in lingerie. Jevon was trying to say it's a hazing ritual, but it's clearly just a reenactment of the oh my god.
Well, what it is it's several things all in one. It is public humiliation, and it's also a ritual from
I'm just not sure.
Ago.
I'm just not
Whichever
sure.
one you fit under, that's where you fit. If you know this is all a gag, just being fun, whatever, then that's where you fall. But if you think you're initiating into some, if he gets you to do this and your granddaddy rolls over in his grave, that's the whole point also. It's to get you to do stuff you wouldn't normally do. That's also a piece of this artwork here. But that's the whole thing when it comes to Greek and the whole embodiment of the language and the essence and feeling of the culture and everything is that there's not just dualism. There's 3 or 4 or 5 things being supposedly insinuated or interpreted sometimes.
Yes.
With Greek stuff, just not every time. You can't, because we can't say what the writer's intention was, but in Greek poetry, you have more poetic license to push say John the Baptist is a cross-dressing priest or something like that. That's saying a lot that's not in the book. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of that running around the universe here, but that's not in the book. So it's like, well, I learned something else about a time period. That's what you're going to end up learning at the end of the day. And hopefully you didn't show up with the wig on. If you didn't like it afterwards, that's the whole, that's the whole thing that's going on here. There's more than one thing happening here,
Yes, yeah.
They therefore occupied an ambiguous space in Roman notions of gender that many modern transgender and non-binary people have identified with. Altars to Sybil and figures of Attis have been found on Hadrian's Wall in both Chester's Roman fort and Corbridge, which means it's possible that Galli worshipped in Britain. Okay, cool. I mean, they were all the old movies, bro. You see androgynous dudes everywhere. Like they in every movie, I think, before a certain year of the time period that is. Even when it's in this Romanized modern era that we have, if you will, that's the Achilles can't be gay and Brad Pitt can't be gay in the movie.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Who were the Galli? Well, in the 3rd century BC, Rome's wars against Carthage, the cult of Sybil made a dramatic entrance into Rome. Her cult icon, massive black rock, was accompanied from Pergamum in modern Turkey. by her priests. Symbols icon been sent to Rome. I literally think this is copy and pasted out of fucking Wikipedia. Symbols icon had been sent by Roman state in time of the crisis and was offered temple in Palatine Hill. Later myth that the ship became grounded on Lake
Wikipedia. One of the other.
Seen as very unlucky, but was miraculously pulled free by virtuous Roman woman using only her sash. All right, so supposedly this area here would have been sort of its, original stomping grounds. But I guess the argument here would be that all the way over on the outskirts of Jerusalem, that John the Baptist, because of his leather belt and his leopard skin, he was chopping balls off.
Yeah.
Doing some kind of baptism that's gotta be sexually frustrating. It has to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's
what is it doing? Are we doing the shaman one where you're pissing on me, or are we doing a blood one? What did he do with this baptism?
What kind of baptism do you want today?
What was it? Or was it a dude that looked like me in a leopard outfit pouring water on a guy that looked like Chase? That's kind of, that could also be all they're doing.
Yeah, I doubt it, man. I doubt it was just
one. People are crazy enough to just do that. People rubbing snakeskin on their forehead thinking it's gonna fucking do something. You know what I mean? Like it. Yeah. They do a lot of really dumb shit too back then, and they did stuff with drugs, but they also did a lot of dumb stuff.
The placebo effect is a strong thing, though, right? Like it might not have actually been doing anything, but placebo could have done enough.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's a movie called Holy Hell where people were swearing he wasn't giving them drugs. But when they would have this divine vision after they had surrendered enough in state of desperation in this cult. Well, this is actually a cult where people go and fucking live with him, not like just on YouTube. But
so real.
I'm a cult survivor.
Oh my God, yeah.
I love that girl, bro. So my question is, how crazy is that? And who hasn't heard that yet? And if you have, there's a little bit of some reading on what at least is being talked about, at least in this book, based off of his own words. But yeah, same blah, blah, blah. It's the same. This is copy and pasted. Here we go. So we got a new picture here. We got my Phrygian hat, which isn't really mine. This is Derek and Neil's. We owe it to them that we even know what the fuck this hat is. I doubt anyone knew what this Phrygian hat was before they watched either a Gnostic Informant video or a Myth Vision video. I bet they had never heard of Phrygian. Now, they might have seen a statue, but I really don't think it wasn't until those channels when people were really starting to see this, because it just wasn't really part of that algorithm I was seeing way back on YouTube. You know what I mean?
I call it the Seven Dwarves hat because it's the same hat that dwarves wear in Snow White.
Yeah.
Before I knew what the Phrygian hat was called, I was like, oh, that's the hat that dwarves wore, or the Smurfs. The Smurfs wore a similar hat as well.
So the Galli and the Roman poetry. All right, so this is probably like the bulk majority of what the University of Wisconsin-Madison is. It's probably just reading through this material here is probably the only real study that's been done. If that makes sense. To come to the conclusion here. So how men presented themselves was extremely important. The Galli, with their ambiguous gender performance, allowed men to examine masculinity without risking the solidity of their own identities. Throughout the Roman Republic, there was a focus on the Galli's un-Roman nature. Foreignness was the way of the Magna cult, was placed apart. They are often viewing as charming curiosities. So you know how we always say, like, oh, these are Greek Eleusinian mysteries that these early Christians are doing. You could say these are early Phrygian or Sibylline mystery, that you could say that just as equally. But I think we all know what people are hoping is true, is that the magical drinks, at least at the end of the day. Whether John the Baptist had cut his nuts off or not, I still think that there was some kind of magical medications being either drank or, unfortunately, there are other ways that they were doing the oils. But we'll just say rubbing it on you. That's safe enough, right? Because you can still absorb it that way. Throughout the Roman Republic, there was focus on the guys' own Roman nature, foreignness, magical was placed apart, and they often viewed as charming curiosities marked out by their music and ecstatic processions. The Catalysts, Catullus, C84 through 54 BC, was an aristocratic Roman poet in the late Roman Republic. He wrote some of the most well-known Roman poetry, including many to his lover Lesbia. Oh yeah, here we go, son. In Poem 3063, I'm so dyslexic. He used the Galli's mythical ancestor Attis to examine Roman masculinity as a whole. Is a castrated Attis a man, a woman, or something else entirely? Attis' grammatical gender shifts throughout the poem as they undergo castration, ecstatic celebration, and regret. For poets like Catullus, I'm going to say, because I don't want to say Catullus, a myth is a safe place to examine gender and masculinity from, and he can treat Attis with sympathy. It only becomes uncomfortable and strange when the body is being examined by a real person. And here we have a picture, marble sculpture of Attis wearing a Phrygian cap, the Museo Archeologico Sarcina, Spain, and something.
Oh, that's better.
Well, I'm just looking at the genital area, not to focus on it or anything. I'm just saying it almost looks like it was vandalized, but that wouldn't have been the case necessarily. It's just I don't know what they were trying to do here, because it looks like it looks like it has scoring on that area. However, attitudes towards the Galli changed in the early empire under the rule of Augustus. There was a massive expansion of Roman territory. Many new peoples came to Rome and became citizens, heightening concerns about Roman identity and masculinity. The Galli became more visible. Is it because there was an overwhelming femininity about a lot of the guys? Maybe is that the thing that was threatening the whole thing? Maybe so. I mean, it doesn't seem crazy if they're this fucking worried about it. The Galli became more visible inside Rome after Augustus rebuilding the Magnum Temple in AD 3. Which made the cult more accessible to Roman citizens. From being a curiosity, they became a threat. As the Galli's gender performance became a focal point of discussion, see, history is repeating itself, you know. As the Galli's gender performance became a focal point of discussion, it opened them up to new attacks, particularly from poets like Martial. See, I'm glad Gnostic's here. He's going to have to come on the next. We don't have a lot of time today. But you have to bring him on the next one, and he can kind of iron out everything we're doing today and expand, because I know he's got bukus of info on this, because all these words I learned from his channel. So Martial, AD 3841, AD 102 for my son's in the other room, was a Roman poet originally from Spain who was best known for this witty and often obscene epigrams. He was deeply concerned with masculinity and sexuality. In epigram 541, he describes another man as being more feminine than Attis and questions his rights to privileges of married Roman men. In his poetry, castration is presented as being equivalent to emasculation. You know what? You're just going to have to get over, everybody. All my Christians out there wearing your polo shirts or your Ariat button downs right now, or your mossy tree or mossy oak, real tree hunting attire. You're just going to have to get over the fact that your grandmas and granddaddies were putting penises in their mouth and in their asshole. You're just going to have to get over it. Obviously, none of them were the people that cut their balls off because, you know, you're here. But you're just going to have to get over it. Your great-granddad, sorry. He's been naked with men before. I know that might bug you a little bit. But we're here for you at Witch Doctor. So he describes another man as being more feminine than Attis. The question is rights to privilege of married Roman men. His poetry, castration, presented as being equivalent to emasculation, reflecting the importance of Roman masculinity of being able to produce legitimate heirs. See, you're here. So your granddaddy didn't cut his nuts off till after you were born. The Galli are reduced to a tool in which, or your, you know, obviously the heirs, to a tool with which to criticize other men. The end of the cult. All right, let's see how this cigarette was put out, but I don't mean that negatively. In the late Roman Empire, the Galli appear again in Roman literature. They are once more used as a tool to think with, although this time by Christians who are opposed to paganism and to castration. If castration was in early Christianity for any odd reason, let's say that those practices were being shared through the lands, then obviously the abolishment of castration would have been in the onset of Christianity, perhaps right around these time frames of different verse. Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember when Constantine. Do you know?
Oh yeah, no, I'm bad with dates, man. Unless I take
We're
the
not
time
that far off. I mean, it's gotta.
to. I'm bad with dates unless I take the time to actually memorize them. I'm not one to. I'm not one to care about dates much, so they don't stick to my memory. Right?
Okay.
I
So
gotta.
yeah, so he is, and I should always know this, but I have my brain pushes info out when new stuff comes in because I'm old. February of the year 272.
Oh,
So
please.
yeah, after 272, anything remaining from the old, whether it be an Eleusinian, Sibylline, or anything like that. I'm not saying John the Baptist cut his nuts off. I'm not saying Jesus cut his nuts off. I'm just saying he talked about people doing that in the Bible. So it's not insane to say that. I'm defending Babylon to a degree here. We can't say that John the Baptist looked like this fucking picture in this book. It's just, you know what I mean? We just can't say all that. It's just, and we can't say that was absolutely what was happening because people do dumb rituals that do nothing. It's kind of hard to actually start a religion that really fucking sticks without something real involved in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like there's always an acid trip or something real. It seems
that the link Mandy threw
crazy enough.
That's pretty cool.
People are crazy enough to follow stuff without any drugs because there's this promise of an alternative to a drug in some kind of way, whether it's a yoga healing.
Yeah. I mean, dopamine is just as an addictive drug as lots of other things. So the promise of happiness and dopamine is the thing you're really looking for at the end of the trail there, right?
All right, we got something. We don't have a lot of viewers today. Thank you guys for whoever decided to turn it. I had to kind of go off about something and try to be funny, or else this shit doesn't work. You know what I mean? You can't sit here and be like Lex Friedman and think anyone's gonna look at your shit. But anyway, Mr. Pink. So I love the name, and I love
Oh yeah, me too. I love it.
So it's the abolishment of castration, which made the thing. No, I know, no. But this was happening, and forget Jesus. Pretend that shit didn't even happen. Let's just look at Rome by itself. We have the Myth Riot guys, our Phrygian hat dudes that Derek and Neil have shown us so many times, and we have those guys in the world moving around. You got Mithras with the magic wand. He's got the Santa Claus hat, and he's got the rays like the Statue of Liberty. There's a couple of different artistic renditions we see of the guy, but there's also a cult of Sybil running around where the dudes are chopping their nuts off. So just like in Rick and Morty, throw your penis into the fire now. So they definitely were doing this stuff. Now we've already done an episode that I've erased, which I didn't realize that Gnostic and Vision had done episodes on this, but of the eunuchs in the Bible. And Jesus talks about eunuchs in Matthew 19:12. So real quick, we're going to jump into Matthew 19:12 on Cross Bible, and then we're going to get out of here. All right. Cross Bible. If you guys go to my YouTube page, the link for Cross Bible is right there. Click on it. Make sure you get a sign in and stuff. It'll keep track of all your things. All right. Crossbible.com. We're going to sign in. Let's share this tab. Yep. Boom. All right. Which doctor? And you don't know my voice.
Did I mute the microphone? No, I didn't. Okay.
All right. So I last night I read like maybe 8 books of Mark 9. And I was looking for any time that people touched his clothing and were healed, or were touched by him, or he rubbed an oil on you. I was looking for some of those passages for another day, but
okay.
Let's see. Where the fuck are we going? Matthew 19. All right, bring us Jesus. In Jesus' name. This episode is sponsored by crossbible.com, and then Steven's head pops in. No, it isn't. And it goes right back to the episode.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay, Steven, if you see this, I would love, even if it's not like a joke, a 10-second commercial before we go live when it says Witch Doctor Live. I'd rather it just be a commercial for Crossbible. Because people will already know where I'm going to get all this Greek stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. You could have how at the start of the movies they have like the logos for all the production companies and such. You can just like kind of do it like that.
So let's compare it to now Steve's suggestion, because the Codex Sinaiticus is actually terrible. He's like, dude, use the SBO. He's like, it's a little bit more correct because there's all kinds of spelling errors, typos, things like that. All right, so we come down here. Now I'm okay. So there are eunuchs who were born that way. There are eunuchs who've been made eunuchs by others, and there are eunuchs, and there are those who chose to live like eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of the heaven. The one who can accept this should accept it. All right, so I'm not going to sit here and read all this in the Greek because I'll be wrong with how I say half of it. But this is the chapter that made everybody go, huh? And so we go and look, and from what I had seen in some other versions, there was even like in the Codex Sinaiticus, it says, let him be separated, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's like, is he talking about he who's able to receive this to receive it? Is there the dualism being implied here that who can accept this as fact accepts it? Only someone who can accept that's going to accept it. Or is it he who can receive who can accept this to receive that? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, is this an area where they're trying to have some dualism, where they're trying to have not dualism by definition, because technically that's a little different, but they're trying to have, there's a double meaning in that, quoting much ado about nothing. But is that what's going on here? Well, it wouldn't be crazy considering, just all over the world, we were having that at the time, the known world. Here we go, up here. All right, so we got Syria, we got Phoenicia, we got Cappadocia, Lycaonia, Galatia, Phrygia, all this land back and forth.
Yeah.
All been trade.
It's 100% plausible and possible. Like,
well, it's not like, okay, John the Baptist and Jesus, I guess we could say they know what Galli are.
Yes. They have to.
Yeah, and if they didn't, then they were trading a lot of stuff back and forth. They've never seen any of the people from the. I mean, there's always like this. It was everywhere in Rome. They were this. I feel like this happened.
It was like a giant high school cafeteria. Who gets to sit at lunch table? Like each cult's like a different lunch table in the high school cafeteria, right?
And in that respect towards religion, we could say, no, the Jews weren't doing that anymore.
Yeah, right.
In no way anybody brought in and considered a rabbi even for a day would have been doing anything like that. I would need somebody with more degrees than me to say that, but I'm not saying Jesus was a castrated dude. I'm not saying he was cross-dressed. I'm just saying I saw him in a vision like that years ago. And so I have definitely been curious just to know a little bit more about that. And, what would you do if you ran across a book like this after seeing that shit? It'd be like, what?
Yeah. Well, and plus the spark of the desire to learn, right? To light the fire of knowledge is a good thing, no matter really where it comes from.
Yeah, we're gonna jump off in a second, but I'm gonna read. I'm sorry to interrupt you, brother.
No, it's good.
We have, a passages. Mary's alabaster dildo, and I've covered the scene with the spike nard and all that, whatever. But nards were applied by first vigorously rubbing them onto the skin or any object, such as a sacred penis used by those followers of Priapus. This vigorous rubbing created a warm sensation that characterized the use of these sex drugs in both the medical and non-medical texts. And unsurprisingly, when Mary applied the drug to Jesus, she first prepared it by rubbing it on the alabaster. He's quoting that.
Yeah.
Curiously.
So the rubbing it on the alabastron would make it warm. Is that what that just said?
Yeah. and it's oil, so
Yeah, okay.
The New Testament translators omit the detail, prefer to translate the Greek technically from the term rubbing as breaking. Oh, okay. Stephen, Cross Bible. We're going to look at this next time he comes on. We're going to look at the technical term for rubbing as breaking. Makes little sense and is out of context for Mary to have broken the drug's container. But the fudging of the Greek is necessary for a literal translation of the gospel passage, which matches ancient custom, makes it appear that Mary was rubbing the drug onto the alabastron in order to prepare it for the application. I'm changing his words. I'm for YouTube's sake. Jesus, the alabastron-shaped alabastron in Bethany resurfaces in a mystery letter attributed to Clement of Alexandria, found at the Mar Saba monastery in the Judean desert. The author of this letter rails against the Carpocratians, a Gnostic sect of Christians that developed in Alexandria. Go figure. Members embraced, among other pagan-influenced traditions, a disturbingly open sexuality. Sure. The Mar Saba letters refer to Carpocratians as wandering stars, an expression used by the Greeks and Romans to describe necromancers and necromantic deities. The letter also states that Carpocratians delved into the deep things of Satan as kings of the underworld and thus hurled themselves into the darkness of the netherworld. Of course, any ancient necromancer would agree that this was the exact goal of the religious rites. And then up here it says, the Mar Saba letter may help to explain the presence of the naked boy with Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, as well as Mary's gift.
The what letter? How do you spell it? I'm going to look that up.
The Mar Saba letter may help to explain the presence of the naked boy with Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, or the naked young man, if we were to say Neoniskos.
Yeah.
That's the word. As well as Mary's gift of the dildo-shaped alabaster. Yeah. I'm trying to.
I'm gonna look. I got this. Morton Smith talks about the Mar Saba letter and the Syriac. Okay, I'll have a look at this later to this evening. The Mar Saba letter, I'm saying.
So, most interestingly, the Mar Saba letter discusses a fragment of the Gospel of Mark that was reportedly left out of the original Gospel in order to keep uninitiated pagans from discovering details of the most intimate Christian mysteries. Oh, here we go. So, the supposed censored fragment of Mark mentions another of Jesus's visits to Bethany, where Jesus raised a young boy from the dead, after which the two then entered what appears to be a sexual relationship. The episode, translated by Morton Smith, is unmistakably necromantic. What's up, Mandy Moore Hall?
Why are the things so big on the screen? They used to not be that big.
It's the type of. So here, I'll show you. Let's do this. Watch.
It's a little bit too big. I don't really care.
Now share one.
Yeah, okay, that's better. That's better.
Better. Now it's I agree. The other one would have big name tags, which I kind of liked.
Yeah. It was covering up most of us too, so it was a bit much.
All right, so apparently there's a second visit to Bethany where he raised a boy from the dead, and then they entered a relationship. And they came to Bethany, and a certain woman whose brother had died was there. And coming, she prostrated herself before Jesus and said to him, "Son of David, have mercy on me." But the disciples rebuked her. Of course, they rebuked everything. Jesus, being angered, went off with her to the garden where the tomb was, and straightway a great cry was heard from the tomb. And going near Jesus, rolled away a stone of the door of the tomb, and straightway going in there was the youth. The youth was stretched forth his hand and raised him, seizing thy hand. But the youth, looking upon him, loved him and began to beseech him, and he might be with him. And going out of the tomb, they came into the house of the youth, for he was rich. After 6 days, Jesus told him to do, and every youth came. In the evening, the youth came to him, wearing linen cloth over his naked body, and remained with him in the night. And Jesus taught him the mystery of the kingdom of God, and thus arising, he returned to another side of Jordan. So, see, this interest. It sounds like
it's talking about that story there.
Where is this from? I wonder.
Yeah, that's what I don't. Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure.
It's in the Mar Saba letter
Okay,
discusses a
that's what I
fragment of the
thought.
Gospel of Mark. Okay.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Okay.
that's what I
Cool.
thought he
Yeah.
was
So
implying. I thought he was implying he was quoting from that letter. Okay, so we're correct here. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read into it later tonight. I think I've never heard of that before. The Bersaba letter. So I'll check that out.
well, let me tell you. I mean, this is very interesting for sure. Mar Saba. Well, it sounds like they were messing around with this particular story of him resurrecting a young man. I can't imagine an original text sounding too out of the norm of what this seems a little.
Yeah.
It doesn't match.
Oh,
The literary style doesn't match the rest of the original Mark, for example. Then this would just be another another story. Because there's a handful of them that are, obviously have not been included, but that's interesting. I definitely want to look more into that. That'll be on the next one.
I was in regards to what Mandy said here about Jeremy Bentham. It was talking about this 200 years before him, and yeah, I looked into that. He did say some interesting things, but it also seemed like he was just anti-homosexual in the way he was delivering it. Like he was bringing up some of the same stuff as Almond, but it seemed like he was bringing it up in a way that was just anti-homosexual, right?
Yeah. So one thing
I read all of it.
The alabaster being with Jesus the whole time on the cross. Well, so one of the things that we've seen in the artwork is the Man of Sorrows talks about him being a symbol for castration. So yes, there is artwork talking about this from the 1600s. So there's that. Then you do have the massive erection, Anchorman style, in the same picture.
Yeah, that's Mandy's right.
Either from the beating,
I got it backwards, Mandy. Sorry.
Or from the entheogen, or both. So this is the theory. Yes, I like all of the theories because in the art world, seeing the explanation for that, and you should have. I wonder what my teacher's face looked like when she saw my PowerPoint presentation just last semester, because I put these pictures in the damn thing. I was like, she's getting all of this. It was 30 minutes. It was supposed to be 7. I did a 30-minute video for her, and it was just a kaleidoscope of what. Yes, any Christian watching this that hasn't heard of any of the stuff that we talk about, oh my God, I cannot imagine how insane she must have thought I was until she saw all the fucking citations and all of the resources and where it came from and just the theories and stuff. I just know she hasn't heard that shit.
Yeah.
One white bitch from North Carolina. So ain't no way you hadn't heard this shit.
Is North Carolina in the Bible Belt? I don't know. I don't know what the Bible Belt actually is.
She's just an American. She's a fucking moron. She doesn't know anything. She's an American. Americans are stupid.
The Bible Belt.
A lot of them are.
That would make sense.
Even I'm an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, I appreciate it, guys. We're gonna go ahead and bounce off, but we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.